22 after 8. Good to have you with us here on the Monday edition of the South African Morning. You can see the sunshine behind me. Why? That's unusual because we're in our brand new building from today. We'll speak to the eNCA MD about that in just a moment. First, primary school pupils fallen behind. Of course they have. Now need to return to school full time. Can they do it? Can they do it safely? It is the view of school governing bodies that is the way it should be done. Pupils returning to class today, and the Federation of Governing Bodies of South African Schools believes there will be no major issues. Do you agree? Let's find out. Take us to Bloemfontein now as the Federation's Deputy CEO. It is Dr. Jaco Deacon. Dr. Deacon, good morning to you. So we're hearing some organizations suggesting all is well. Let the bell ring. Let's go back to class. Others, like the DA and KZN, are saying it's a bad idea. Where are you on this?
Well, I don't think everything is okay. We're still in the midst of COVID, but the bottom line is it's time to weigh up the pros and cons. And if you look at a risk profile, especially for the children in the younger ages in the primary school, I think the risk is of such that we need to return all the primary school children to school ASAP. The 1 meter social distance will still be a big issue. We don't have enough space that we can afford a 1 meter social distance. But the bottom line is the health risk it's a reduced risk at that age. The biggest risk is children not attending school, not getting to the feeding schemes, and lagging behind in their development.
What about the rural schools in some parts of the country like the Eastern Cape and KZN? That seems to be one of the issues. I spoke to a teachers' union earlier, while also agreeing with you, Doctor, that it's time for pupils to get back to class, saying that rural schools are where we're going to see, she called them super spreader events, hotspots in certain schools. Would you concur?
Well, twofold. Obviously, those schools lack infrastructure, and even if you do help them with a mobile classroom, you also need to assist them with the teacher. But the bottom line is schools aren't going to reopen as we closed last term. I think the massive rollout of the vaccination program in the education sector really removed a hurdle in the provision of education. I think it's a safer workplace. I think it's safer for children. There's still a risk, but it's definitely safer. And I would like to thank everybody who got involved in the vaccination program. So that's also part of the program or the process to reduce the risk to bring all the children back.
When I read that there's a call for creative ways to avoid the risk of spreading COVID-19, what does a creative way look like? Can you help me understand?
I think in a school, the creative way is the best, or the old way. It's just to stick to the basics. We know what we're supposed to do regarding the non-pharmaceuticals. So wear your mask, sanitize your hands, don't do stupid things, not at school and definitely not at home. I think the bottom line is a school is a very controlled environment. So you've got adult supervision. We can provide training, help and assistance. The risk is more when you go outside the school. So I think children are more exposed in the communities and at home than within a school context where it's well regulated.
Part of schooling as well, and I'm not a parent, but many parents will testify to this. We've spoken to parents in the past. Education in class, one thing, very important, no doubts. The other is social interaction and sporting activities. Where do you sit on perhaps two-part question? One, non-contact sport at school, and two, contact sport in school. Where are you on that final question to you?
Maybe I should start with the fact that I think children really miss the interaction outside of the classroom. We're social beings, and we relieve our attention and emotions by social interaction, by playing sport, by taking part in cultural activities. So we do support the opening of the contact sport as well as the non-contact sport to the extent that those schools are already on 100% capacity. It doesn't make sense to play rugby and soccer and contact sports and I'm not allowed to sit next to you in a class. That's irresponsible to open sport if the school is not on 100% academic performance. First things first, so our focus should be on the full academic restart for all the learners, and then your cultural and sport activities. For those schools who've been back on 100% for months, obviously I think they should start to introduce the sport and culture. But the bottom line is, first things first, let's get the academic year up and running again and make sure we can complete this academic year.
Doctor, I've got about 30 seconds left with you. I'd just like to squeeze this question in if I could. The third wave peak, if you will, now hitting the Western Cape. Should we be treating schools in the Western Cape differently to the rest of the country?
Well, our directions make provision for that. So I think in hotspot areas, the school leadership, the provincial leadership should take note of that and close where necessary. But it doesn't make sense to close a school in Bloemfontein if the issue is really in Alexander Bay. So let's keep some sense into it, but let's apply where necessary.
And I appreciate your time in speaking to us. We're about an hour into the first day of primary schools being back. A school bell, I'm sure that all parents and pupils have missed. My thanks to Dr. Jaco Deacon from Fedsas joining us here on the South African Morning.